Here are 5 Kdenlive tips and tricks for a better workflow, starting with group effects. Now, this here allows you to modify or control the parameters of any given effect across multiple selected clips. So to demonstrate this, over here I have these two clips here cropped to fit over one another. So we have the first one up here cropped to the limit and the second one down here. So what I'm going to do is select both of them. So I'll hold down Shift, left click, hold and drag, grab both. I'll go look for a U-shift. Then I'll drag the U-shift effect over them. And then I'll left click on the top one to make it active. And then I'll click up here inside of the effect and composition stack at the top. We have apply effects change to all clips in the group. We have a drop down here with the option to apply only to effects with the same values. This is a way to limit the influence. So over here, you can see we have the number 2 over the U-shift. And this indicates that we are controlling the U-shift for 2 separate clips. So 2 instances of the U-shift. So now if I move anywhere here on the timeline, add a keyframe, you'll notice that it's added to both clips. And if I were to change the value of this keyframe, it will change it for both of the clips. Same thing goes for deleting the keyframes. So if I were to delete this keyframe here in the middle, it will delete it for both of the clips. And finally, if I delete the U-shift, it's going to delete it for both clips as well. Now, the clips don't have to be overlapping, they just have to both be selected. So if I were to move this one away, grab both of them again, add the U-shift, for example, activate it, and then add a keyframe, change the parameters, it's still going to change it for both of them. The next tip is the ability to zoom in on the keyframes for your effects. So over here on this clip, I have the camera shake effect, and we have all of these keyframes. And down here with the scroll bar, if you click on either extremity, left click, hold and drag, you'll be able to zoom in here on the keyframes. So on either extremity, you can also click the scroll bar and then navigate through your keyframes. This is very useful when you have longer clips with a lot of keyframes. You would like to zoom in for some precision. Moving on to the next tip, which is the ability to split your effects or compare your effects on a given clip. So to demonstrate this, over here I have a stack of effects applied to this clip. And at the very top here, we have these two columns, compare effect. So if I left click on it in the project monitor, it's going to split the monitor into two, one side with the applied effects, the other side with no effects applied. So we can do a side-by-side comparison of the two. Moving on to the next tip, which is the ability to copy and paste your keyframes, as well as the ability to align them. So in Kdenlive, you have the option to copy and paste your keyframes inside of a same effect. So for example, here I have this keyframe over here where the rectangle is pushed to the left. And down here in the controls, we have this button to copy keyframes. So left click on it. So if I place the playhead over here, for example, I can then click on the paste keyframes, and it will paste that same keyframe on that new spot. So this is how you can easily copy and paste your keyframes. Now, it won't always it won't always paste the interpolation mode that you had previously chosen. So if I go for cubic out here, for example, and then I copy the keyframe and I move forward and paste the keyframe, you can see it does not paste with the interpolation. And that's a little bug you might run into. But other than that, it's a quick way to copy and paste your keyframes. And you can always change the interpolation afterwards manually. Next is the ability to align your keyframes. And basically, let's say I were to place the playhead over here, I can select any of these keyframes and click on these two overlapping rectangles. So move the selected keyframe to cursor, and the keyframe is going to jump to the cursor. Now, if I wanted to grab this keyframe over here and let's say move it past this keyframe over here on the right. So I put the playhead over here, grab the keyframe and try to align it. You'll notice that it stops at this keyframe, and that is because in Kdenlive, you cannot cross over keyframes. So you can't cross keyframes over other keyframes. But other than that, it's a nice way to precisely drop your keyframes where you would like to place them. Next, we have effect zones. Now, this is a neat way to isolate effects to a particular segment of your clips or of the timeline. You can use effect zones whether you're applying effects to a track, a clip, or master. And how they work, so over here on this color clip, I have the U-shift. And let's say I were to switch the U, different color, but I only want the U change to apply in a certain area. We could use keyframes for that, or up here at the top of the effect, next to the stopwatch, we have this magnifying glass icon, you could say, which allows us to use effect zone. So left click on it, and it's going to add this purple or pink bar to the timeline. And this is the effect zone for this particular effect. In other words, if I move the playhead outside of that area, you can see that the U shift no longer applies. When I move it over it, it applies. You can change the effect zone either on the timeline by grabbing the controls or the ends to make it larger or shorter, etc. Or you can control it from the effect using the in and out shortcuts. You also have the ability to set it using the time. So which frame do you want it to be on? So you can use the in to set the in point and use the out to set the out point. And you can toggle it on and off as you please. Next, I have two bonus tips for you. The first one being the ability to collapse or expand all tracks of a same kind. So you can expand all of the video tracks or collapse all of the video tracks at once. Same for the audio tracks. So if you hold down Shift and you expand video track, it's going to expand all of them. Hold down Shift, collapse, it's going to collapse all of them. Same thing goes for the audio track. If you hold down Shift, collapse or expand one of them, it will apply to the rest of them. The next bonus tip is monitor overlays. So on the project monitor, you can right click and down inside of current monitor overlay, you have the option to add things like the playback FPS, info overlay, overlay markers, etc. So a few overlays that you can add to your project monitor. And that's it. If you want to learn more about Kdenlive, you can click on this playlist up here, and thanks for watching.